That word, compromise, it often makes us flinch, right? A little bit.
Yeah, it really does.
We hear all the time, it's a sign of maturity, it's progress.
Yeah.
But for so many of us, it just feels like giving something up.
A concession, yeah. Like you're losing a piece of yourself.
Exactly. We connect it with loss, with like reluctantly letting go of something important, or even maybe making things worse than you wanted them to be.
You really hit on a key psychological thing there. That initial negative feeling about compromise is incredibly strong. It sort of primes us to see it as a step backward, a change that makes things worse, not better.
Right.
And if your brain is kind of wired to see it as a loss, well, it's no wonder we resist it so much. It feels like it goes against our instinct to protect ourselves.
Okay, so let's unpack this then. Is compromise really about just sacrificing endlessly? Or is there maybe a richer way to think about it, a more powerful interpretation?
I think there definitely is.
Because that's what we want to do in this deep dive, right? We want to try and reframe that whole idea of loss.
Yeah.
And show how compromise, when you really understand it, is actually about finding solutions. Solutions that genuinely work for everyone involved. We'll look at how crucial it is, not just in our personal lives, our relationships, our mental health, but also, in tough professional negotiations, even in politics.
Big stakes stuff.
Yeah, big stakes. The idea is to figure out how finding that common ground can actually lead to maybe unexpected harmony, stronger results, and maybe just feeling better overall.
And that's exactly the shift, isn't it, that we need to make? Because true compromise, it's not about constantly giving things up, that continuous self-sacrifice.
Right.
Think of it more like mutual concession, but not like giving in. It's more like a dynamic dance.
Okay.
And the surprising thing is, it's often less about just meeting halfway on some fixed point and more about elevating the whole conversation, getting to a place where both people feel genuinely heard, respected, and valued.
Respected, valued.
Yeah.
That sounds different.
It is. It's a conscious process. You're understanding, you're adapting, you're navigating things together in a way that respects your own values, sure, but also helps you both grow. It creates real psychological safety.
That sounds like a huge mental shift, though, going from you versus me to us against the problem. Is that actually hard to do in practice? What's the biggest thing that trips people up?
Oh, it can be really hard. I think often the biggest hurdle is just our ego. And that really deep belief that in any disagreement, there has to be a winner and a loser. We're kind of taught to compete, aren't we?
We really are.
But healthy compromise, it needs you to lean into dialogues, not debates. It needs real understanding, not just insisting you're right. It's about realizing that a shared win is always going to last longer, be more stable than just one person getting their way.
Yeah, I can definitely feel the competitive urge sometimes. But okay, even with those negative feelings we started with, you're saying compromise is really, really important for any healthy relationship. Even small ones count.
Oh, absolutely critical. Think of them like tiny investments in the relationship account.
Okay.
Every little compromise builds trust, it shows respect, it reinforces that feeling that you're actually a team.
Right.
And if you don't compromise, if one person is always the one giving in, that's that continuous self-sacrifice we talked about. And that can be incredibly damaging, not just for the relationship, but for your own mental health, your well-being inside that relationship.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
If you're always the one giving and you don't feel heard or like your needs matter, yeah, that's just a fast track to burnout and resentment.
Exactly. A romantic relationship, for example. It's fundamentally two separate people coming together.
Right. You're not dating yourself.
Hopefully not. Differences aren't just normal, they're actually healthy. But you need compromise to get over the inevitable bumps in the road together. Without it, things get really unbalanced. One person ends up controlling things, and eventually, well, the relationship isn't just stuck, it's basically dead. It kills growth for both people, and it just blues resentment and unease.
And I remember reading one source that put it quite geometrically. Compromise is the shared hypotenuse of the conjoined triangles of success.
Haha. Yeah, sounds a bit like a textbook, but it does capture that idea, right? Finding a common path to a better place.
It does. So let's make this real. Can we look at a couple examples?
Yes, absolutely. Stories make it clearer. Take Joan and Peter. High school sweethearts, classic problem. Different universities.
Yeah, in there.
Joan wanted arts, Peter wanted engineering. Their top choices were far apart. Real tension there could have easily driven them apart.
So how did they find that shared hypotenuse? What did they do?
Well, instead of just letting it fester, they actually sat down and talked. Not just about where they wanted to go, but about the fact they wanted a future together.
Okay, important distinction.
Huge. They visited both campuses, talked honestly about their dreams, their worries, and they came up with a really creative plan. Joan went to her dream arts university for the first 2 years. Peter went to a good community college nearby her university for those 2 years. Then he transferred to his preferred engineering university, which happened to be pretty close to where Joan was.
Wow. Okay, so they staged it.
Exactly. It meant they could stay physically close, support each other, but still chase their individual dreams. It shows you can navigate even really big decisions together if you get creative.
That's a fantastic example of thinking outside the standard either. But what about differences that seem deeper, almost impossible? Like
Yeah.
Maria and Ali, you mentioned them, deeply religious but different faiths,
Yeah.
Catholic and Muslim. That's not college choice. That's core identity stuff.
It really is. But they chose compromise proactively. They made a real effort to learn about each other's faiths.
How did that look?
Well, Maria would join Ali for iftar dinners during Ramadan. Ali went to Christmas Mass with Maria's family. They consciously tried to keep an open mind, talked about their beliefs, really focused on mutual respect. And crucially, they agreed, no pressure to convert, ever.
That's huge.
It is. By honoring their individual faiths, but finding that common ground in their relationship, they actually strengthened their bond. It showed that love and real compromise can bring even really profound differences. Their connection was built on understanding, not on one person having to give up who they were.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. Because these stories, they're not about sacrificing your core self or your deepest beliefs.
Not at all.
They're about finding a creative, respectful way to move forward together. It's like expanding the pie instead of just fighting over how to slice it.
Exactly. Expanding the pie.
And that expanding the pie idea, that brings us perfectly to that classic orange example, doesn't it?
It really does. It's such a simple, powerful illustration. You know the one, two kids fighting over the last orange?
Yep.
The obvious compromise is cut it in half. Fair is fair. Right.
Seems fair.
But it leaves both kids unhappy because, as it turns out, the son needed the juice for a marinade he was making. The daughter needed the rind for muffins she was baking.
Ah. So cutting it in half gave neither of them what they actually needed. Just half of what they thought they wanted.
Precisely. They only got a portion of the whole orange when they could have each had 100% of what was valuable to them.
That orange example always makes me chuckle. Mainly at myself. Thinking of all the times I probably just sliced something down the middle without asking why.
We all do it.
It really forces you to rethink what we call compromise. Because if their mom or whoever had just taken a second to ask why do you want the orange? To get at their underlying interests.
Instead of just their position, I want it.
Right. She could have easily given the son all the juice, the daughter all the rind. Boom. Both totally happy.
Exactly. And it shows how that traditional split the difference compromise often means everyone loses a little something, or maybe even a lot, which feels, like you said, kind of deflating. But skillful conflict resolution, the kind that digs for their underlying interests, that lets you co-create mutual games. You find a genuinely good outcome together, and that process feels completely different. It feels inspiring, empowering, liberating even.
Liberating, I like that.
Because you suddenly see solutions that were totally invisible when you were just stuck on your positions. It changes the whole game from scarcity to abundance, mentally and emotionally.
It sounds amazing.
Maybe.
A little idealistic for really tough situations. So if it's not just splitting the difference, what's this other way? This third way? That brings us to principal negotiation, right? Sometimes called the Harvard method.
That's it. The Harvard method gives you a kind of roadmap for finding that third way. It's strategic. It's not about being soft and just giving in.
Which can feel weak.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not about being hard and demanding everything your way, which usually just burns bridges.
Definitely seen that happen.
Yeah. This method came out of the work by Roger Fisher and William Ury in their book, Getting to Yes, and it basically has 4 main parts.
Okay, what's the first, the foundational piece?
Crucially, you have to separate the people from the problem.
Okay. What does that mean exactly?
Think about it like this. Your feelings, your biases, your history with the person you're negotiating with, they can totally hijack the actual discussion about the issue itself.
Ah, yeah. Gets personal fast.
Exactly. So the goal isn't to win against the person. It's to work together to understand the problem and find a solution. Understand each other's concerns and needs related to that problem.
And a good way to do that is using those I feel statements, right? Active listening.
Spot on. Instead of saying, you always do this, which puts them on the defensive.
Instantly.
Yeah. You say, when X happens, I feel Y. It shifts from blame to your experience. It's hard for someone to argue with how you feel, and it opens the door to them understanding your perspective, maybe the intensity of it too.
Makes sense. Okay, so separate people from problem. What's number 2?
Number 2, focus on interests, not positions, just like the orange example.
Right, the why behind the what.
Exactly. People dig into their positions. I need this. I want that. Principled negotiation says, look behind those statements. What are the deeper needs, wants, motivations driving them? What are their interests? Understanding that is absolutely key to finding common ground and, importantly, creating value. If you only know their position, you miss the huge landscape of why they hold it.
Okay, so once you've uncovered those interests, how do you get to a solution from there?
That leads right into the third element, invent options for mutual gain.
Invent options. So brainstorming.
Yes, but really wide brainstorming. Don't just jump on the first okay-ish solution that comes up. Generate a whole range of possibilities before you start evaluating or deciding.
Okay.
These options could involve conditions, maybe trade-offs, contingency plans, even things that seem a bit weird or out there at first. The more ideas you have on the table, the better your chances of finding a really innovative solution that actually works well for everyone.
More possibilities are better than fewer. Makes sense. And the fourth piece.
The last step is to insist on using objective criteria.
Objective criteria, like what?
Instead of just arguing back and forth based on opinions or who can shout louder, rely on fair, independent standards. Things like market value, expert opinions, maybe industry best practices, or even the law.
Ah, okay. Things you can point to.
Exactly. And the key is both sides should try to agree on which criteria are relevant before you start applying them. It creates a neutral playing field, takes the personal attacks out of it, and grounds the discussion in some kind of shared reality.
So putting it all together, what does this mean for us listening? It sounds like shifting focus away from just digging your heels in towards finding flexible solutions. And that comes from really understanding what's driving everyone.
Precisely. And a big part of that understanding yourself, too, is knowing your BTNA.
BTNA, right. Best alternative to a negotiated agreement.
Your fallback, your plan B. It's critical because your goal isn't just any agreement. You want an agreement that's better for you than what you'd get if talks completely broke down.
Right. What happens if you just walk away?
Exactly. Knowing your day-to-day gives you confidence. It gives you leverage. And it tells you when a deal just isn't good enough, when you're actually better off taking your alternative. It's your safety net in the negotiation.
Okay, so this framework seems really useful for, say, negotiating a salary or maybe even working out chores at home. But if that's tricky, imagine politics. Why is compromise so incredibly hard there?
Yeah, politics is a whole different level of complexity, isn't it?
Yeah.
A lot of it seems to boil down to fundamentally conflicting mindsets.
Mindsets, how so?
Well, think about the uncompromising mindset. This is the mode you're often in when you're campaigning.
Trying to win votes.
Exactly. It often has two sides. One is what you might call principled tenacity, really sticking to your guns, your core beliefs, even if it means nothing gets done.
Gridlock.
Right. And the other side is mutual mistrust, just assuming the other side is out to get you, that their motives are purely cynical. You see the worst in them.
That sounds exhausting. But effective for winning an election, maybe?
It can be very effective for winning, but it's a terrible way to actually govern.
And we see that uncompromising mindset all the time, don't we? You mentioned George H.W. Bush's "read my lips, no more taxes." Great line for the campaign.
Absolutely.
Huge problem when reality forced him to compromise later. Massive hit to trust. Or think about how campaigns use motive mongering, accusing opponents of being, in the pocket of big pharma or whatever, questioning their intentions instead of debating the actual policy. How does that kind of talk make working together even possible?
It makes it almost impossible. It creates this toxic adversarial climate where every single move is viewed with suspicion as an attack. But then on the other hand, you have the compromising mindset.
The governing mindset.
Ideally, yes, the mindset you need to actually get things done. And this also has two dimensions. First, there's principled prudence.
Okay, what's that?
It's a pragmatic view. It recognizes that, look, in a diverse society, Compromise is usually necessary to make any significant progress. It means being willing to adjust your principles sometimes if it leads to a real improvement over the status quo. It even means accepting that outcomes might look a bit messy or incoherent because that's the result of respecting different values.
Yeah, principled prudence. And the second part?
Mutual respect. Even with people you deeply disagree with. It means negotiating in good faith, assuming they probably have mixed motives just like you do, and trying to build some level of trust, even with your adversaries.
And we do see examples of that, even if they feel rare sometimes, like the big Tax Reform Act back in '86. Leaders from both parties managed to set aside the usual distrust, adapt their positions, and get something major done.
A landmark achievement.
Or think about Senators Orrin Hatch and Ted Kennedy. Polar opposites ideologically, right?
Absolutely.
Yet they worked together for decades, co-sponsored major bills on health, education, labor. It shows that mutual respect can bridge huge divides and actually produce results.
It really can. The big challenge in politics today, though, is what some call the permanent campaign.
Yeah, it never stops.
Exactly. The lines get totally blurred. Campaign attitudes bleed into governing. And that makes finding common ground, making those prudent compromises, so much harder. That constant us versus them is just, it's corrosive and mentally draining for everyone, including the public.
Which is maybe where something more structured, like mediation, can come in.
Yeah.
As a way to deliberately try and foster that compromising mindset.
Mediation can be incredibly powerful for that, yes. It's a form of ADR, alternative dispute resolution. You have a neutral third party, the mediator.
Not taking sides.
Right, completely neutral. Their job is to help the people in conflict communicate better, explore the issues, and hopefully reach a solution they can both live with. It's really a practical application of a lot of those principled negotiation tools we talked about, creating a safe, confidential space to work things out.
And it has some real practical upsides too, right? Like it's usually cheaper and faster than going to court.
Generally, yes. Saves time, saves money, avoids clogged court systems. But maybe the biggest benefit, especially in certain situations, is that it can help preserve relationships.
That seems huge, especially in like family fights or workplace issues or business partnerships. Going to court can just destroy those relationships forever.
It really can. The adversarial nature of litigation often leaves deep scars. Mediation aims for resolution, not just winning. Let me give you a couple of quick examples.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, imagine co-founders of a tech startup, clashing visions, ready to split. A mediator helped them get past the surface arguments and focus on their underlying interests, what they really wanted for the company and for themselves. They ended up finding a compromise that not only saved the business, but actually strengthened their working relationship.
Wow. That's huge for them and for the company's future. You really can't put a price on rebuilding that trust, can you?
You really can't. Or think about a family fighting over how to care for aging parents. Very common, very emotional. Mediation helps siblings move past old grudges, listen with empathy, and create a collaborative care plan. It wasn't just about logistics. It repaired strained family ties.
That's powerful.
Even something seemingly smaller, like neighbors fighting over noise. A mediator provided that neutral space for them to actually talk, understand each other's perspective, and find a practical, win-win solution that let them keep their long-standing friendly relationship. These aren't just legal fixes, they're emotional wins too. They boost well-being for everyone.
Okay, so we've gone deep into what compromise really is, why it's hard, how things like principled negotiation and mediation can help. Let's bring it back home. For you listening, how can you actually use this in your own life, your daily interactions? What are the practical steps?
Yeah, let's boil it down. There are about 6 key steps you can think about for making compromise work effectively. First, open the communication gates.
Just start talking.
Yeah, but more than that. Encourage honesty. Be willing to be a bit vulnerable yourself and really create a space where it feels safe to talk without judgment, where everyone can express their needs, their wants, their expectations openly. This is ground zero for any healthy conversation at home or work.
Okay, communication gates open. What's step 2?
Second, keep an open mind. This is where empathy comes in. Really try to see things from the other person's point of view, even if you totally disagree with it.
Even if it feels difficult.
Especially if it feels difficult, just making that effort builds respect, and that respect is vital for the compromise process to even feel possible, let alone collaborative.
Right. Then I guess you look for where you do agree.
Exactly. Step 3, identify common ground. Find those areas where your interests overlap or where you already agree. This builds momentum. It reminds both of you that you're fundamentally on the same team, even if you're stuck on certain points. It helps push back against that feeling of just sacrificing your own stuff.
Okay, common ground identified. Then comes the actual negotiation part.
Step 4, engage in constructive negotiation. And the key word there is constructive. This is not a competition, it's collaboration.
Us against the problem.
You got it. Create that feeling that you're working together towards a shared goal. Finding a solution that works well enough for everyone involved. Remember the orange.
Always remember the orange.
Yeah,
Okay, so you brainstorm, you talk, you negotiate, then you have to actually land on something.
Right. Step 5, agree on a solution. The goal here isn't necessarily perfection for either side. It's about finding ways to honor both parties' core values and well-being. The solution should feel like a genuine improvement, something satisfying for both, even if it's not exactly what either of you initially pictured. It's a win for the relationship, a step towards harmony.
And finally, it's not just agree and forget, is it?
Definitely not. Step 6 is crucial. Implement and review. Put the plan into action. But then, check in periodically. See how it's actually working for both of you. Is it doing what you hoped? Be prepared to tweak it if needed. Life changes, circumstances change. The best solution might need to evolve too. That flexibility, that willingness to revisit things, that's part of the ongoing work that makes a compromise last.
Okay, so there we have it. Compromise. That word that, often feels like losing something. It's actually maybe profoundly misunderstood.
I really think it is.
It's not really about giving up what truly matters, is it? Or sacrificing who you are. It's more about this deep shift in how you approach things. Moving from just digging in your heels to finding creative ways forward together. From assuming the worst to maybe assuming, well, at least mixed motives and trying to build respect.
That's the heart of it. The real art is in that mutual concession, yes, but driven by principled prudence and mutual respect. It's about digging deeper than just what people say they want, getting to those underlying interests.
The why.
The why. Because that's where you find the wiggle room, the creative space, to invent solutions that genuinely work for everyone. And doing that, it builds resilience, it deepens connection, and honestly, it's just better for your own mental health and the health of your relationships.
So a final thought for everyone listening. The next time you're facing a disagreement, could be big, could be small, could be at home, could be at work, maybe pause and ask yourself, what am I really fighting for here? What are my deepest interests? And then just imagine what new solutions, what unexpected possibilities might open up if you stopped seeing it as a battle you have to win and started seeing it as a problem you can solve together, letting understanding, maybe even a bit of creative partnership, win out over the conflict itself.
That shift in perspective, it can honestly transform your relationships and maybe even your life.
Thank you so much for walking us through all that. Really fascinating.
Hey, my pleasure. Always good to talk about this stuff.
And thank you all for joining us for this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep finding those solutions together.